Can Burkina Faso truly break away from the Western-dominated global financial system and establish its own independent economic structure? This question has been at the center of Africa's developmental challenges for decades. Imagine if a single move by one nation could ripple across the continent, causing an upheaval in the power dynamics that have long shackled Africa under the grip of foreign financial control. What if the establishment of a homegrown financial institution could serve as the catalyst for freeing not just one country, but an entire continent from the chains of economic dependency? Before we dive into the details of how the Postal Bank could reshape not just Burkina Faso, but also the rest of Africa, make sure to subscribe to the African Web and hit the bell icon to stay informed on Africa's journey toward economic independence and development. In recent history, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has emerged as one of the most significant leaders in this fight for African economic independence. As president of Burkina Faso, Traoré's audacious policies and bold initiatives have shaken the traditional foundations of how African nations engage with the global economy. One of his most revolutionary moves came on October 7, 2024, when Burkina Faso officially launched the Postal Bank of Burkina Faso. While it may seem like the simple creation of a new financial institution, this move holds far greater implications for the future of the nation and the entire African continent. This bank is not just a facility for holding and managing money. It symbolizes Burkina Faso's growing desire for financial sovereignty, its rejection of Western-controlled economic frameworks, and a step toward true independence in a world where economic influence equates to power. But is this ambitious project truly the key to Burkina Faso's economic freedom? Could it serve as a model for other African nations struggling under the weight of foreign loans, economic interventions, and debt? To understand the significance of the Postal Bank in Burkina Faso, it's crucial to take a step back and look at the broader historical context that has shaped Africa's relationship with Western financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. Since the colonial era, African nations have been trapped in cycles of economic dependency, with many post-colonial states emerging with fragile economies that relied heavily on foreign aid and loans. For decades, countries like Burkina Faso have found themselves caught in a web of foreign debt. The IMF and World Bank often provide much-needed financial assistance, but this aid comes with stringent conditions, such as austerity measures, structural adjustment programs, and privatization. They've often done more harm than good. By imposing these conditions, these institutions have ensured that Africa remains in a perpetual state of economic subordination, unable to fully control its financial destiny. A closer look at the history of African economies reveals that Western financial involvement is not just about providing loans, it's about maintaining influence. The rise of the structural adjustment programs in the 1980s marked a significant turning point for many African countries. Designed to stabilize economies in crisis, the structural adjustment programs often demanded that countries reduce public spending, privatize state-owned industries, and open their markets to foreign investments. While these policies were meant to stimulate economic growth, they often resulted in widespread poverty, inequality, and loss of sovereignty over national assets. In countries like Zambia and Ghana, where the structural adjustment programs were implemented, the effects were devastating. Public services were slashed, unemployment soared, and foreign companies gained control over key industries. Burkina Faso was not immune to these policies, and the nation's economic struggles can be traced back, in part, to its reliance on foreign loans that came with high costs. By launching the Postal Bank, Ibrahim Traoré is making a statement. Burkina Faso will no longer be at the mercy of foreign financial institutions that prioritize their interests over the well-being of the nation. On October 7, 2024, Burkina Faso took a decisive step toward financial independence with the launch of the Postal Bank of Burkina Faso. But what exactly makes this event so significant? For starters, this is not just another bank. It is a national institution created with the sole purpose of addressing the country's deep-rooted financial challenges. The Postal Bank is designed to break away from the traditional models that have failed the people of Burkina Faso for years. Under the leadership of President Traoré, the country is moving toward a system that prioritizes the needs of its citizens over the interests of foreign powers. The Postal Bank's establishment represents a departure from reliance on external organizations like the IMF and World Bank. Traoré has been vocal about his belief that Burkina Faso's future lies in self-reliance. His administration has been working toward reducing the country's dependency on foreign loans, which have historically come with conditions that undermine the nation's economic sovereignty. The postal bank is seen as a key tool in this effort. Its primary role is to manage public finances, ensuring that large projects and programs are no longer dependent on foreign financing. Minister Leonard Carve explained that the bank will handle public structures, ensuring that these funds are managed internally, reducing the need to rely on costly foreign loans. But perhaps the most significant aspect of the postal bank's mission is its focus on financial inclusion. In a country where access to financial services is often limited to the urban elite, the postal bank is designed to be accessible to all citizens, whether they live in cities or rural areas. It is set to democratize access to financial resources, making it easier for small-scale entrepreneurs, farmers, and rural communities to participate in the economy. This is a revolutionary move that promises to empower millions of Burkinabés who have been excluded from the formal financial system. But how does this move compare to the experiences of other African nations? Can Burkina Faso's postal bank truly serve as a model for financial independence across the continent? Burkina Faso is not the only African country grappling with the question of economic independence. Many nations across the continent have faced similar challenges, with varying degrees of success in their attempts to break free from foreign financial dependency. But what makes Burkina Faso's postal bank different from other efforts? Ghana, for example, has long struggled with debt and dependency on foreign financial institutions. In recent years, the country has made strides toward reducing its reliance on external loans, but it remains heavily indebted to institutions like the IMF. Zimbabwe, on the other hand, has taken a more radical approach by rejecting Western financial aid altogether. However, this decision has come with its own set of challenges, including hyperinflation and economic isolation. Burkina Faso's approach, led by President Traore, seems to strike a balance between these two extremes. By establishing the postal bank, Traore is signaling his desire to break free from foreign control, but he is also taking a measured approach that focuses on building the country's financial infrastructure from the ground up. Unlike Zimbabwe's approach, which has led to economic instability, Burkina Faso's strategy is centered on creating a sustainable financial system that serves the needs of its people. The postal bank aims to change this by providing accessible banking services to all citizens, regardless of their location or income level. This is a critical move for a country like Burkina Faso, where the majority of the population lives in rural areas and relies on small-scale agriculture for their livelihoods. But why is financial inclusion so important? For starters, access to financial services is a key driver of economic development. When people have access to banking services, they can save money. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the African Web for more exciting updates on Africa's journey toward progress.